And I believe we are on. Yes, we are. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the channel. Trailer Trash Tim here. And
Marina.
we are actually recording this. I'm going to post this tomorrow on Monday. It'll be Monday when you see it, but it's actually Sunday afternoon because we're both really busy in the morning. And I wanted to get this up um, on Monday morning so you'd be able to see it then. I hope our sound is better. We're in two different places in the same house, so let me know. I know some of you said we had some echo the last time, so we're trying to get away from that. So bear with us while we work through the kinks, but I think this might be a little bit better. Before we get going on the news portion of the show, I hope you'll just indulge us for just a moment because I want to inject something that's rather personal, but it may be of interest to you. Today, of course, it's right now as we record this, it's Sunday afternoon. We'll try and do some of these live before too long. But as many of you know, we don't really inject anything into the channel other than what's on our calling card, which is politics, current events, and the news, things of that nature. Although you do know a lot about us personally, but as I've stated before, we are both Orthodox Christians. And I mentioned that because we are on the cusp of the season of Lent. It's basically a 40-day period of fasting and almsgiving and good deeds and abstention from uh, the passions, if you will. Um, and so that begins for us tomorrow, and it concludes. Uh, I believe it is for us. May the 5th is the date of what we call Pascha or Easter. So we're looking forward to that. But this is traditionally, Lent is traditionally a season of repentance and reflection and self examination and self denial. And in the church, we start Lent on what's called Forgiveness Sunday, which was today. Our services today, we had our regular morning worship service, which is our divine liturgy. And after that, we took a break and had lunch, and then came back and went through what's called a Vespers, which is a prayer services. All of our services are basically prayer services. That's what they are. It's called Forgiveness Vespers. And I thought you might find this interesting because at the conclusion of the prayers, uh, the priest will face the people and he will ask forgiveness of the people for all of his shortcomings and sins and faults and things of that nature. And then it's a very emotional service. I get emotional even thinking
It
about it.
is. It really
And
is.
following that, and he will ask of the congregants their forgiveness, and then he will prostrate himself before the congregation. And then what we do is get in line, and we go before the priest, and we all prostrate ourselves before him, and he will say to us, "Please forgive me." He'll say to me, "Forgive me, Timothy." And the response is, "The Lord forgives, and I forgive. May the Lord," and then he'll reply, "May the Lord forgive us both." And we prostrate before each other and stand up and embrace. And then there's just this long line in the church, and everybody in the church just goes to one another in this line, and we all say, "Forgive me." And the other person will say, "The Lord forgives and I forgive." And then the person will say, "May the Lord forgive us both." And then we prostrate ourselves before each other. It is possibly the most moving service in the whole cycle of the year. There's a lot of tears shed, and it's very moving when you see parents prostrate themselves before their children,
Yeah, it is.
say to their children, forgive me. And the children will say to them, "The Lord forgives and I forgive." You might have to talk. Woo! Bear
Make
with me, folks.
May God forgive us both, and may God forgive us each and every one.
And it's such a moving service, very emotional, very cleansing, and it gets you ready for the season of Lent, which is a real season of warfare, really.
Self-denial.
Yeah,
Yeah.
self-denial. But you don't want anything between you and anyone else, any hard feelings or bitterness or unforgiveness or anything like that. It's such a touching service, and I'm going to put a link down below of a service. There's several services on YouTube that show this, but I've selected one that was actually done at a monastery. I believe it's St. Catherine's Monastery, and it's actually located in the nation of Belarus. And the priest there is just a dear monastic, and he doesn't speak English, but it comes with subtitles. And if you're curious at all about what I'm talking about, he stands before the people in the monastery. Anybody can go, of course, and he talks about his own personal shortcomings, and this is a what you would call a very holy man, but he just stands before the people and repents of his own sins and asks them to forgive him. And then all of the monks and the nuns and all the lay people that are there, they come before him and he prostrates himself before them. And oh my goodness, it's if can you imagine if the whole world did that? Uh, but and not to get preachy and overly religious with any of you, but I got to tell you, on this occasion, it really is a great time for you. And I know some of you are of different faiths, different denominations. Some of you are atheists. I get that. I understand that. I know some good atheists. Um, but I don't think anybody would disagree with the fact that we do not need to hold unforgiveness in our hearts toward anyone. And you may say, well, so and so has done this to me. And look, I understand we've all been offended by somebody in our lives in some way. But if you don't forgive people, then that you're almost like their hostage. It's just the best policy to just forgive, even if they have offended you and it's legitimate. And if somebody else knew about it, they would say, "Wow, that person really offended you, or sinned against you, or what have you." But it frees you up. It cleanses you if you will just make the conscious effort to forgive. And it's such a wonderful experience to go through. And I would simply conclude by saying, look, and I mean this to all of you that are watching. I've got 3,600 subscribers on the channel. Several hundred of you are watching, and I would say to you, as an Orthodox Christian, forgive me, a sinner. And Marina can respond to that.
Yes, I would like all of you to forgive me as well if I have said or done anything that has offended you. And I truly apologize and ask your forgiveness.
And accept a cyber prostration from us. And we would simply say, the Lord forgives and I forgive. May the Lord forgive us both. And if you are by any chance an Orthodox Christian watching us, or a Christian of a different stripe, what have you, if by any chance you are entering into the season of Lent, we wish you a very blessed and prosperous and beneficial Lent. And we now turn our gears on the calendar toward getting through this season. A lot of services, a lot of prayers, a lot of things we have to do. And we're all looking forward to the bright and glorious day of resurrection, which is Pascha or Easter. And I can tell you more about that in a few weeks. We have our services at midnight it's a Saturday evening service. And we meet in our church around 11:30 at night. And by the time 1:30 rolls around, the priest will declare Christ is risen and it's party time. And we eat meat and a lot of it too. So anyway, if you by chance are celebrating Lent, a most blessed and prosperous Lent to each and every one of you. It's really hard right now to shift gears and get to the news, but to that we must. And I'm going to start with this. Lord, help us. I've been reading a lot and hearing a lot lately in the news about a term called Christian nationalism. Christian nationalism. And it seems like that a lot of people that are of the liberal political persuasion are have their guns blazing for these people that they refer to as Christian nationalists. Number one, I can only surmise who they are talking about when they talk about Christian nationalism. And I don't know what your definition, honey, of Christian nationalism may be, but let's just separate the words for a moment. If you are in America in particular, or if you're not in America, this just would pertain to your country as well.
Right.
If you consider yourself a Christian who loves their country, would that not make you a Christian nationalist?
Only if you put your country first in your policies. Otherwise, you're just blowing hot air.
Well, what may I ask is wrong with being a Christian nationalist?
Well, to all the atheists and all the fake Christians out there, of course, it would be easy to see what is wrong with being a Christian nationalist. Not only do we love our country and want what's best for our country, but what we believe to be the best for our countries means that you've got to fight against this perverse agenda that so many people have today.
So if you take a stand for let's say traditional forms of morality,
Right.
If you reject wokeness,
Right.
if you
If you are
reject,
for families,
if you're pro-family, if you
right,
think having kids is a good thing as opposed to promoting abortion,
right,
does that make you a Christian nationalist?
pretty much.
So the people who are spewing this, the people who are on the left side of the aisle, if you will, Democrats, supporters of Biden and Obama and what have you, they're it seems to be trying to marginalize people who, number one, love their country, and number two, are Christian or they're religious in some nature, or they adhere to a particular moral standard. Let's say,
Well, I think you just skirted the issue there. The other side hates morality. They believe freedom is doing whatever it is they want to do. However, what it is they want to do is trample on the freedoms of everyone else.
which is a natural consequence,
Right.
because it's as you say, it's trampling on those who would uphold standards. We've had
Right.
historically, we've had basically as the source of our law, I guess you would say, it's roughly based, at least in the West. I would venture on the Ten Commandments, is it not? I
Well,
mean,
roughly
these are just,
speaking, yeah, but we were founded with at least Protestant Christian morality back in the day. Of course, that doesn't apply to all Protestants now. Um, but yeah, the Ten Commandments would be the starting place.
okay. So, what are the Ten Commandments? I don't know if I can rattle them all off. Don't steal. Don't lie. Don't bear
Don't
false witness.
don't kill.
Don't covet. Don't commit adultery.
Honor your
Uh,
mother and father.
honor your mother and father.
Have no other gods before God.
It's the people who are trying to marginalize people who adhere to these principles of morality that are
Right.
spouting this nonsense and calling us Christian nationalists
Right.
in an
They're
attempt
using
to
the word
marginalize us.
Well, they're using both the word Christian and the word nationalist pejoratively.
Right. As
I
an
don't know.
insult.
I mean, what are we supposed to call them? Non-Christian idiots?
Well,
I mean,
that's what leads me to ask this question. Okay, if you reject, and I didn't use the term Christian nationalist. I'm responding to people who do, but
right,
frankly, I don't have any problem with it.
right,
To be honest. But if you reject what I just said, if you reject these traditional norms of morality, if you think it's okay to break all the Ten Commandments, for example, okay, what's the alternative? What have you got that's better? Do you have a better option? if we're not going to adhere to look, if you're going to have a nation, if you're going to have a community, if you're going to have a family, if you're going to have an organized unit of some sort, you have got to have some system of rules and enforcement of rules and punishment for rule breakers. Do you not?
Yeah, you do.
What parent does not have a system of rules for their children?
Apparently, a lot of them today.
Well, yeah, but I mean, ideally speaking, if you're gonna I mean, look at an HOA, for heaven's sakes.
Yeah.
Homeowners association has rules, and
Boy, don't they?
if you buy a home and it has in your subdivision they have an HOA, you sign on the dotted line, and you're ostensibly saying, "I will abide by the rules of the HOA." So going in, there's certain things you can't do.
Right.
You can't put trash out in your yard, and you can't have wild parties and whatever the rules are. But there's rules in life. There's rules in school. There's rules in families. There's rules at work.
Well, instead of calling them rules, I mean, basically these are the expectations of behavior that we all want to live by. I don't want my 15-year-old granddaughter getting the hell beat out of somebody at school. That's unacceptable behavior. And so that's how we decide what our rules are. If that behavior is unacceptable, then you don't get to do that.
What kind of classroom do you have? What kind of home do you have? What kind of nation do you have if you have no rules?
It's all out of control.
Is it not? It's chaos, right?
Yeah, it's chaos.
So what are the people, generally speaking, would you say, that are calling us Christian nationalists and trying to marginalize us? What is the alternative they're offering, or is that not obvious?
They're offering chaos and death.
Okay, so as far as I can tell, just a few observational points here. The people who would seek to rescind or get rid of such guidelines or rules or morals in America, are these not the same people that are asking their 4-year-old child whether or not they're a boy or a girl, and do they want to be a boy or a girl?
Well, any adult who bases their decisions on what a 4 or 5-year-old tells them is, I'm sorry, they're mentally ill. I didn't even ask my 4 or 5-year-old when going out to eat at a restaurant, honey, what do you want to eat? No, I just decided what it was they were going to have, and that's what they had.
You were not pro-choice.
No, I was not.
No, look, I'm with you. I mean, that's the job of the parent, is to make choices for their child, because one would assume that the parent, generally speaking, knows more than the child does about life and knows what's best for the welfare of the child.
Right.
As far as I can tell, the left-wing lunatics, the woke crowd, in rejecting what they call Christian nationalism, or in rejecting, the morality that may be based in the Ten Commandments, in rejecting all this, the message I'm getting from them is that they want life to be basically perpetual Mardi Gras on Bourbon Street.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
So,
which is shameful to be. I'm sorry. That's just an aside.
Instead of order, they want chaos.
Right.
Is that pretty much accurate?
Yeah.
Instead of order, they want chaos.
They're seeking everything that is unrighteous, everything, just to prove that they can. I don't see the point.
It is the death of a nation.
Yeah.
To give yourselves over to this amoral, is amoral the term I'm looking for?
Yes, sir.
Lack of morals, just to be amoral.
Yes.
To if it feels good, do it. There's no restraint. There's no restrictions. do as you please. Folks, that ain't real life. You can't live like that.
And then they ignore those who have to go behind them and clean up the mess. You know, it's like grandparents raising their grandchildren because their children are such a mess. Well, I don't know that they're going to raise their grandchildren any better than they raised their children.
If you had a home with small children and you had no rules on your children, and they could just do whatever they wanted to do, they would be basically having candy and ice cream every day for their meals. They'd be parked in front of a PlayStation all day long for their entertainment.
Over the years, I have, visited people's homes who were in chaos. And you can tell the minute you walk through the front door that this house is full of chaos because it's a complete mess.
Right.
And there's no, I don't know how people live like that. I really don't.
You're not supposed to.
Nope.
Children deserve better than that, and
yes, they do.
And our nation deserves better than that. Unfortunately, we have leadership in place that is more in tune with the woke crowd than they are with those of us who value traditional forms of morality and would like to see such things upheld. But for the Democrats right now, they have replaced that which is holy, if you will, with that which is profane. Their sacrament is abortion. You know, in the church, we have a saying that comes from the scriptures pertaining to the sacramental, the body and blood of Christ, where he says in the Gospels, "This is my body." Is it not ironic that "this is my body" is the mantra of the pro-choice gang? It's just a substitution. It's this is why you see Democrats just actively promoting abortion like it needs to be promoted. That makes no sense to me at all. It's just sad.
See, when you and I were children, things that were sinful, such as abortion, these are the things that were done in secret. They were done in the darkness where you didn't crow about it. It's really disturbing to me today to see actresses and singers and celebrities, what have you, crowing about the fact that they've had multiple abortions, and they seem to be so proud of it. But nobody sees their tears in the darkness,
And there are.
And there are.
There are.
Truly are.
When they turn out the lights and they're alone with their thoughts, they're tormented in all likelihood.
If they're ever alone with themselves.
One thing we have lost in our nation, and as far as I'm concerned, and it is not a bad thing, but one thing we have lost besides any semblance of innocence is shame.
Yeah.
Shame.
Shame is a good thing.
Shame is a very good thing. When you do something wrong, if you're a kid and you took the cookie out of the cookie jar that your mama told you not to take, and she asked you if you took the cookie from your cookie jar and you knew you had taken the cookie from the cookie jar and you got busted, you probably felt shame. And that's a good thing.
Yeah,
because it reinforces in you what you were supposed to do in the first place.
Yes, it does.
We don't have much shame in America anymore. People can live however they want to live and do whatever they want to do, and they flaunt it.
For the last 40 years, our public schools have been teaching children self-esteem, as if you have to teach a child self-esteem. But they are wanting all children everywhere to feel good about themselves for no reason whatsoever. And I, as a recovering school teacher, I'm still in therapy. I never did teach that crap to my classrooms because it's not right. It's a lie. It's deceptive. You should not feel good about yourself if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing.
That's the key. If you're doing wrong, you ought to feel bad about it. And I'll tell you what, if you're doing wrong and you don't feel bad, that's a problem.
Yeah, that's a problem. That's called a sociopath.
Ding, 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 ding. That's exactly what that is.
Yeah.
All right, we've worn that out. Let me move on. I got several things I want to talk about here. I want to get to good old Mike Pence, the former vice president. Mike Pence, as you know, ran for the Republican nomination this year. His campaign went nowhere.
Did he really?
Yeah. Did you know that? Did you know that, folks? Mike Pence.
Yeah.
You remember Mike Pence, the guy who looks like a funeral director?
He'd be more popular as a funeral director.
I mean, the guy's got, talk about low energy.
Oh.
He ain't got none. And I am just, I've been disappointed with him for a long, long time. But you may have heard, or maybe you didn't hear, because he's not exactly a headline grabber. This week, Mike Pence came out to announce his non-endorsement. So of a president. So in other words, his announcement was not an announcement. Does that make sense? Yeah. I've got an announcement for you all, but I really have nothing to say. Well, then why are you making an announcement?
Well, that's typical for Mike Pence, isn't it?
Mike Pence came out and announced that he is not endorsing Donald Trump for the presidency, for the GOP nomination, and for the presidency. Now, as you know, by way of delegate count, President Trump has the nomination sewn up already, as does Joe Biden have the Democratic nomination sewn up. I don't know if they're going to be facing off or not. I don't know if one's going to have to drop out or two are going to have to drop out. I don't know what's going to happen. But as things stand right now, they are both going to be their party's nominee. So that leads me to ask this question of you, Mr. Pence. If you're not going to endorse Trump, who are you going to endorse?
Yeah, because
can you help me out?
He didn't give us any clue as to who he is endorsing, but he knows that Mr. Trump is definitely off of the list.
Okay, well, and look, I get the fact Bobby Kennedy's running. I understand that, but folks, let's face the facts. If it's Trump versus Biden, one of those two men is going to be the president. It's as simple as that. That's what's going to, Kennedy is not going to win. He can be a spoiler, but he can't win. It's going to be Trump or Biden, which begs again the question, if you're not going to endorse Trump, Mr. Pence, who are you endorsing? Because there's only two choices. Are you telling us that you're going to support Joe Biden? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I find his timing quite interesting. Why do you wait until after Trump has clinched the nomination before you bother to say anything? Not to mention, nobody in the country gives a hoot in hell who he's endorsing anyway.
Well, I'm stumped. Why? Why is he doing this?
I don't know why he would wait until. I mean, well, I do kind of. It's a safe bet at this point, you know. If he had come out and said he's not endorsing this one or that one, or if he'd come out and said I endorse Nikki Haley or whatever, then right now he would look like a blithering idiot. But of course, right now he still looks like a blithering idiot. I don't know.
But Nikki Haley is moot. The primaries are over for all intents and purposes. Trump has the nomination. He is the GOP nominee. There is no Haley. There is no DeSantis. There is no Vivek. There is nobody else. It's just Trump.
Right.
So are you just trying to get camera time? Are you just trying to raise the Pence profile so you can get invited to speeches? I mean, does this not just reek of being self-serving?
Narcissistic.
Just to get attention? Even? Narcissistic? I mean, give me a break, Mike Pence. I just, to me, he has such a false sense of piety about him. I'm just not impressed. He just stands there all pious, and I don't buy it. I'm not impressed with you, Mike Pence, at all. There was no reason for you to come out and make this non-announcement announcement. Who comes out and makes an announcement about what they're not going to do?
Well, that's the difference between spineless Christians and Christian nationalists, apparently, because he's a spineless Christian. So is Mike Johnson, as far as that goes.
Well, what if I come and wake you up at 2:30 in the morning and say, I have an announcement. I am not going to be going to work today.
I'm going to be angry with you.
This is your announcement? You needed to tell me that? Like, Mike, did you need to tell us who you're not? Was all the nation just waiting with bated breath? None of us could decide what we were going to do. We were all just waiting to see what Mike Pence was going to do before we made up our mind.
Right.
I just couldn't decide. Is it going to be Trump or is it going to be Biden? I just can't decide. I know I'll wait on Mike Pence, so then I'll make my decision. But I still don't know because he didn't tell us anything.
No.
So if you're not voting for Trump, Mike, who are you voting for, buddy? 2 choices, Mike. Just 2. Who are you voting for?
What a turncoat. What an utter and complete and I'll tell you why he is against Trump is because he wussed out when he had his opportunity to stand up on January 6th.
He really did.
And do what was right.
He really did.
Mr. Christian couldn't do that. You know, he had to wuss out and go with the side of the evil ones.
Well, you know, according to the law and the Constitution, my duty as vice president, come on, man, stand up, be a man, find your spine and do what you ought to do.
No, according to the Constitution, he could have sent those electors back to their states, those votes.
He could have. Yes, he could have. Yes, he could have, but he did not do that.
He could have said, "Figure it out, and then send us the right ones." There
you go. He could have done that.
Yeah,
but he didn't.
No.
So good riddance to you, Mike.
Like Pence. I said, he's a coward. He is a sickly coward.
He's spineless.
Yeah, that's like Judge McAfee in Georgia. I mean, that man is a complete and utter coward.
You're talking about the Fannie Willis.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. We're not going to get to her today, but save that because we need to talk about her at great length at some point, perhaps this week.
Okay.
All right, let me move on to good old Bernie the Commie Sanders.
Oh, goody.
Bernie Sanders, as you probably know, is one of the 2 senators from the great state of Vermont. What's wrong with you people in Vermont? Can you not do any better than Bernie Sanders? Are you kidding me? Bernie Sanders bills himself as a democratic socialist. That's what he is. He is a big government left-wing guy who believes that nobody is able to go and live their life without some form of government intervention. Bernie believes the bigger the government, the better the government. And he believes that anybody out there who's working for a living just ain't paying their fair share. And they need to be paying more in taxes.
You know, it's really easy for a man who's never held a job in his entire life.
You're stealing my thunder. Go right ahead.
Sorry.
No, go right ahead.
No, that is so disgusting. It's kind of like so many of the elites going to Selma, as you say, and you know, talking down to these people. Well, Bernie's doing the same thing to everybody.
Has he always not been like an academic?
I don't even know I don't think he's ever even held a damn job.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know that he's ever had a paycheck in his life. I know he was mayor, I believe, of Burlington. What he did before that, I don't know. Maybe he was just a garden variety rabble rouser. I don't know. But he has always been on the government dole. He always gets his money.
Well, I can tell you back in the 60s and or 70s, he was a big fan of Russia back then. He went there.
No. The Soviet Union.
Oh, right. Soviet Union. Forgive me. You're correct. He was all buddy chum with the Soviets, the communists.
Did they not honeymoon in the Soviet Union?
I believe that they did. I mean, which is all fine and good. You know, but he and his wife would have starved to death if they had moved to the Soviet Union.
Yeah, they would have. I mean, Bernie Sanders brings nothing to the table, nothing. And all he does is demonize taxpayers who are the very people who give him his sustenance. And let me tell you something about old Bernie. It ain't like he's out there living in a pup tent, boys and girls. Bernie Sanders is very well off, like most politicians in Washington.
Right.
I think he has 3 homes, very nice homes.
Yep. Like Nancy Pelosi, he's probably worth millions.
Anyway, let me get to what I'm talking about with regard to Bernie, because he came out this week and he is calling for a law of some kind which would establish in the United States a 32-hour work week. Bernie doesn't want anybody having to work more than 32 hours. Now, personally, I got no problem with that. I do have a problem with it Bernie Sanders style. I do have a problem with a government mandating to the people of the country, you cannot work more than 32 hours in a week. Now, I view the agreement between an employer and an employee as pretty much kind of a sacred thing. It's a private thing. It is a private transaction. Right. I go and look for a job, and I talk to a potential employer, and he says, look, you come to work for me, I will hire you. This will be your schedule, and this will be your salary. And I look it over. I look his offer over, and I say, okay, that looks pretty good. I'm going to agree to that, and I'm going to come to work for you. Or I say, no, this is not acceptable. Either the hours are too much or the money is too little. Right. Thank you. Have a nice day. I'm going to go and look for another job offer somewhere.
Right.
That's how it ought to work, in my opinion. I don't need, what I'm saying is, I don't need government intervention on my behalf when I am dealing with a prospective employer. I can handle that by myself. Thank you very much.
Right.
But Bernie Sanders.
On the flip side of that, does the man not understand that the economy is in the toilet right now?
Does he care?
Probably not. But if the people are limited to 32 hours a week, they can't make their mortgage. They can't buy the groceries.
What would happen? Think about this. What would happen if Congress did pass a law, the law that Bernie wants, where it would be a federal crime to have any employee work for your company over 32 hours a week? It would be against the law.
Are they doing this to make way for the illegal aliens?
Well, I don't know, but that's another issue. But I'm asking the question, what would happen if that became a federal law tomorrow and nobody who has no company that has any employees could compel their employee to work over 32 hours a week? What would happen?
Well,
any ideas?
I'm thinking a lot of people, well, maybe not a lot, but I think some of them would do the black market thing and start paying people under the table.
Okay, first of all, if you're an hourly worker, would you be able to survive on 32 hours a week?
No.
Okay. I know people who make $20, $25 an hour. They work 40 hours a week, and then they go into time and a half overtime, and that's how they survive. Right. With that overtime. But if there was a law that said, no, you can only work 32 hours a week, guess what they'd be doing? They'd be out looking for a second job, maybe a third job.
Right.
And I'm not sure that's what Bernie intended with this. If you're an hourly worker, let's say you have a home, you got a mortgage, you got a car payment, you got a wife, you got a husband, you got children. Can you make it on 32 hours a week with an hourly wage?
No.
Here's what else is going to happen. Number one, you're going to see jobs eliminated, good jobs with actual benefits. Number two, it could well be that many corporations in America would be fine with this because they would not have to offer benefits to their workers because they're essentially part-time.
That's what all the retail stores or retail corporations, that's what they all do. I mean, Walmart, Hobby Lobby, whatever. They keep everybody at 32 hours a week or below so that they don't have to give them benefits.
So they would, some of them, maybe I wouldn't lump everybody together, but a lot of corporations would probably be fine with this.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because they wouldn't have to offer benefits. So the devil's in the details, and what Bernie is asking. You know, Bernie, you ain't the brightest bulb in the chandelier, buddy. I got to tell you. The bottom line is this. I am a small, really small government kind of a guy. And I believe that people should be, with the aforementioned rules and guidelines and laws in place, people should be able to lead their lives as they see fit. And they should be able to work for a potential employer and come to an agreement with that employer over what their employee. If you have an employer who wants you to work 50 hours a week and you're fine with it, then it's a win-win.
Right.
You know, if you're just looking for part-time work, okay, that's fine. But my point is, it's none of Bernie Sanders' business. These people are such butt-inskies. The Democrats are nothing but a bunch of nosy Nellies. They just can't leave anybody alone to operate their lives as they see fit.
True.
This is a Democratic socialist Bernie Sanders. You people in Vermont, can you not find somebody other than this clown? Oh, Bernie Sanders, I'm a Democratic socialist. The evil rich are not paying their fair share. Is that a pretty good impression?
Yeah, that was pretty good.
All right, let me get off of Bernie. I got one more thing I want to talk about, and it is simply this, and I am a little stymied by this, so I might need some help here.
Okay.
We are suddenly seeing a rash. It seems to me that we are suddenly seeing a rash of Republicans resigning from Congress before their terms end. The one I have in mind right now is Ken Buck. Now, Ken Buck is no prize. He's basically a liberal, big government Republican from
He's
Colorado.
a Democrat in a Republican suit.
So he's a rhino.
Yes.
But Ken Buck is resigning from Congress, as far as I understand, fairly effective immediately, which is going to compel the governor of Colorado to have a special election in Colorado to fill Ken Buck's seat. Now, as things stand in the House of Representatives, the Republicans have a razor thin margin. I don't know what the current count is, but they barely have the majority in Congress. And that's important because if you have the majority, then you get to chair the various committees. If the Republicans were not in charge, and I got not a lot of love lost for them, but if they were not in charge, you would not be seeing inquiries into Biden's behavior and Hunter Biden's behavior and things of this nature. You wouldn't be hearing anything about it because they would not have the power to form a committee and to chair a committee to look into these things.
Right.
So they have a razor wire majority, yet these people keep resigning, or at least announcing their intention to resign.
Like Kevin McCarthy. And then the Republicans do something stupid and get rid of Santos in New York. You know, he may not have been a good Republican, but he was
a Republican. He was a vote. He was a vote.
Yeah.
So you're seeing a lot of seats becoming open in this fall's election.
Mm-hmm.
And who is going to have the majority in the House of Representatives right now, as far as I'm concerned, is anybody's guess. I don't know. But it begs the question, why are all of these Republicans resigning their seats?
Well,
let me ask the question.
Okay.
Is there something sinister afoot?
Oh, I believe there is. Yes. If 2 or 3 more of them resign the way that Ken Buck did and the way Kevin McCarthy, that spineless twit, the way he did, then the Democrats are going to take control of the House. And when they take control of the House, there will be no more Hunter inquiries and there will be no more impeachment inquiries. There will be no more inquiries into the Biden family, period.
You're missing a big one.
Which one?
The current sitting Congress, I don't know what number it is, 104, 105, whatever it is. The current sitting Congress is the Congress, the congressional body that will be in place to certify the next president of the United States.
So that if Trump wins, they just won't certify.
You're getting ahead of me. At which time the new Congress takes their seats. But this current Congress, in whatever form it is in January, is the Congress that will certify the next president. Now you're on to it.
I think you're incorrect there. I think the ones who are coming in, the new Congress, will be the ones to certify the election.
You telling me I'm wrong about something?
Well, like, that's a shock, darling.
Well, all right, maybe I am wrong, but you know what? It doesn't matter because
No,
if
either way, either way.
Either way, and I am a conspiracy theorist, I admit it, but I don't know how conspiratorial it is to imagine a scenario where the sitting Congress is compelled to certify the election and Donald Trump is the winner, and the sitting Congress says, you know what? We ain't gonna do it.
Well, and the thing is that it's Republicans who are doing this. It's like, who the hell side are you on?
Because they got TDS.
Right.
I mean, none of the Democrats want Trump.
No, none of the Republicans do. Well, just a meager handful.
I was going to say probably at least half of them don't want him either.
Over half. Over half.
Can you imagine a scenario where Donald Trump wins election day, November what, the 5th, I think?
I don't remember.
Let's say that let's just get into the minds of the Democrats in Washington, and let's just assume for a moment that they have resigned themselves to the fact that Trump is going to not only win but win in a landslide. Let's just play this game for a minute.
Okay.
And so now the Wednesday morning after the election, we've got the results, and Trump has won in a resounding, huge landslide victory. The Electoral College margin was huge. There's no doubt Donald Trump has won the election. And so now you can breathe easy because we're getting rid of the lunatic, and you hug each other and say, thank God we've got a chance to save our country because Trump has won the election. Not so fast, my friends.
Yeah.
Is it possible? I'm just asking that the Democrats have something up their sleeve and the Republicans have something up their sleeve.
Don't they always? Don't they always?
Do you believe they would actually pull a stunt like this?
At this point, I believe that they would.
Would it shock you?
No, it would not.
What we're talking about is the sitting Congress refusing to certify Donald Trump as the next president.
And I do believe that they would cause war in the streets if they did it.
Well, it should.
I'm just saying.
If that didn't, what would, for heaven's sakes?
Right.
So
we have become a rather milquetoast nation, haven't we?
What happens, and I don't know, I'm asking, maybe you know, what happens if Congress fails to certify the election? Does the election go to the House and they select a president?
That's my understanding, but I could be wrong. But that's what I believe happens. It goes to the House. And do you want those sons of guns picking your president?
That'd be a big negatory there, good buddy.
No kidding. Yeah.
All right, folks, that's what's going on. Do us a big favor and comment down below. Let me know what you think about everything we talked about. Talked about a lot today.
Yep.
Do us a big favor and give us a big thumbs up on the video down below. Like it, and feel free to share this with people if you like. And make sure that you subscribe to the Old Triple T channel. Listen, some of you have reached out to us with the Buy Me a Coffee link down below. I just want you to know we really appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
It does take a pretty good effort to put these things together. And, it's kind of like leaving a tip in a restaurant. So for those of you that have done that recently, thank you so much. We really do appreciate it. And that helps keep us going. And we are most grateful to each and every one of you. Thanks for joining us today, everybody. We really appreciate it. And stay tuned. More coming. We will see you soon.
Bye-bye.